So the first one today. Single casts obviously can be very, very different. Each cast will mature its content in a different way. So even if you've had 3 or 4 sitting next to each other for all their maturing life in the same warehouse, each one will be individual. And when you, of course, you make a single malt in much larger volumes, it doesn't matter that you have these individual elements because you'll blend that out. But for if you want a bottle as a single cask, you have to make sure that it's good enough in its own right. And the Adelphi criteria for a single cask to be good enough is simply that we find it interesting and that we want to try it and drink it and maybe have another one. So it's really a question of enjoying it, and if we enjoy it, we hope other people will enjoy it too. We don't mind if it's young or old or from a famous distillery or not. It just has to be interesting, basically. Now, the other thing you'll notice, this is quite high strength, as single casks are, because we're bottling at natural strength. So if you want to add a drop of water from a very large jug, please do. It's completely up to you. I think this one's sitting about 58 or 58 and a half.
How many people are allowed to decide which kind of cask would be good enough for an Adelphi?
How many are allowed to? The minimum is 2. So Charlie and myself, minimum.
2 bottles of whiskey.
2 bottles of whiskey. Now what we tend to do is, I tend to do what we call the rejection. So the samples that come in. So yeah, well, it's a good time to explain it. In the old days, in the good old days, we used to get samples from lots of different distilleries and brokers and private people, always coming into the office. And maybe once a week I would sit down and we go through them and find ones we like. Nowadays, we still have a little bit coming that way, but more often than not, I will have to go out and buy what we call a parcel. So maybe 50, 70, 100 casks, all in one go. And then we bring them in blind, so we haven't tasted them. We then go through each of them, and the ones we like, we keep, and all the rest we sell off or trade off. And they actually become very valuable because that trading stock is actually more valuable today, given the supply and demand issues, than having lots of cash. Cash is very hard to buy casks with. So the trading stock allows us to swap for other things, which we then get in, and again, same process. So we've got this kind of rolling selection process now.
Just a question, is this batch you're being offered a pre-selection made from the distillery or
so yeah, combination. Normally what will happen is they'll contact us or we'll contact them, and they say, right, well, we've got this. They'll give us a list, and we can then go.
These casks, are they pre-selected from the distillery or is it just from the warehouse and?
So no one has looked at them. No one has. They are a number.
They don't send you their minor quality.
So yeah, that's a very good question. You very, very rarely ever get casks of the mate from that distillery. So I would never get a Macallan from Macallan, put it that way. Because all the casks that Macallan keep for themselves are for Macallan single malt.
So they are pre-selected for Macallan and the rest?
So when you distill, every year you'll have a distilling schedule. And depending on the distillery, a certain percentage you'll keep for your own single malt, and the rest you will have fulfilling contracts and for the blending market. So someone like Gordon and MacPhail, for example, will fill 100 casks a year with Glenlivet, as an example. So the stock that we're getting in 18, 20 or whatever years' time is coming from the second owner, not from the original. So it's on the blending market. And that doesn't mean it's inferior, it just means it doesn't belong to the original distillery. So to them, it's a number. They simply have Glenlivet, 1978 or whatever, cask number, whatever. They haven't gone and tasted it, they haven't pre-selected it or said, oh, we don't like that, so we'll send it to Adelphi. It's simply a number on a list. And that's why when we get them in, we have to do our selection. Otherwise, it's too risky.
It stays on the distillery until it's reaching you at your...
Either at the distillery or at the warehouse where the blender has matured their stock. And that's how the majority of casks we get come in, generally speaking. So, what was oh yeah, minimum 2. When we come to write the tasting notes, so we then select, I reject, then we select the ones we really like, and then when we write the tasting notes, as many people in the office as possible will help. So normally 4 or 5. Sometimes we have our colleagues down from the distillery as well, and come to a bit of a party. But generally speaking, we do agree most of the time. So the Milton Duff. This is relatively young. It's 9 years old. Milton Duff, for those of you who don't know, is a distillery in Speyside, just outside the town of Elgin, at what's it called? Priory. Something Priory. Anyway, if you're going through Elgin, heading for Inverness, it's just on the left. It's what's classified as a top class malt. Now, just like Bordeaux or Burgundy wine, Scotch whisky over the years, or a long time ago, had a classification system put in place. So top class, first class, second class, and so on. And this was to allow the blenders to trade casks to the value of their make. So if you were a very good distiller, if you have a very good make, you were designated top class. And that generally meant that one of your casks was worth 2 of a first class, and so on down the line. So what we've seen over the years is that the top class distilleries like Milton Duff and Glen Elgin, things like that, Benrinnes, these guys tend to be used for blending more than they do for single malt, because their value to blenders is very high. So that you very rarely see a Milton Duff as a single malt. This has been matured in a refill sherry hogshead, so it's got a decent colour for a 9-year-old whisky. But just bearing in mind that the Ardagh Mountain was only 1, it's not bad. Anyway. Much left. Yeah. Strength is 58.5, so it's come down from its filling strength probably around 63, 64 over the years. We got 236 bottles from the cask. And I better just put the news. From memory, this one is like a sweetie shop. It's all these little sort of jelly sweets. Yeah, like strawberry and raspberry little jelly sweets. A little bit of nose prickle from the alcohol, high strength, as I say. Quite peppery as well. Very spicy on the tongue, really peppery. And then creaminess. Creaminess and marzipan licorice, probably, marzipan. So yeah, quite complex for a young whisky. So it's a good example of why, how we select these whiskies, all on flavour. And that's got lots of flavour, even though it's young. Right, I'm very conscious that we are going to get chucked out, so I'm going to keep pouring.